No doubt you have set yourself personal growth goals, or maybe you have aspirational targets for your property business. Well, one thing I'm certain on, one thing I'm dead sure on, is that if you are to achieve those goals, you must invest in yourself. Education, information, absolutely vital if you're to achieve success in almost any walk of life, but particularly in the world of property. My name's David Johnson. I'm the CVO of PropFundrs, and we're a company that work with property developers to help them save time and money. Now, at the heart of our model is what we call our monthly community webinar. This is a live broadcast where we bring on guests who are property professionals, experts in a particular field, or a developer who is working specifically on a project, and we either deep dive into a particular topic or we run a panel where we discuss relevant topics. And over the last 6 months, we have had so many exceptional guests on our community webinar. And there have been so many learnings, so many takeaways, so many golden nuggets, if you will. And it really has been a tremendous benefit to those that have either tuned in live on the broadcast or who have watched the recording on our YouTube channel. So given that we're in the month of August, and traditionally a holiday month, rather than run a live broadcast, we've decided to pull together some of the key tidbits, some of the key learnings, some of the key golden nuggets from the last 6 episodes and have them for you in one video. So we think this will be extremely valuable and we know you'll get a whole lot of benefit. One thing's for sure, you cannot afford to live the rest of your life simply on potential. At some point, that potential has to be unleashed if you're going to achieve. And we hope that even some of the things in this short video will inspire you and motivate you to take action and start to achieve your goals within your property business. Do your own DD, and this definitely is developers and investors. So how important is it to do your own DD as a developer or as an investor?
I'd say measure it twice, cut it once.
Leave the emotion out of it. How important is it to take your emotion out of property projects and investing?
Well, if you're buying at auction, you've got to leave your ego at the door. It can run away with you. You know, I must get this because I must be X, and actually overpay on things that are not actually worth it. So from an auction perspective, it's got to be, what is my ceiling price? Where am I going to stop and stop? No such thing as get rich quick in property.
Get rich slow there is. It's not get rich quick, but it's get rich for sure. I think slow and steady wins the race. It's not tech. It doesn't travel at the speed of light. One brick at a time, one planning application at a time. Things just take time. If you've got the patience, if you've got the passion, you can do very well out of it.
Invest in what you know.
Warren Buffett, who's a better investor than I am, said that the biggest risk is not knowing what you're doing. So it's pretty much, again, it's everything, doing your DD and then investing exactly in what you know.
Jonathan, is there anything practically changes that you would like to see made in the planning process that you think would have a positive impact?
I would say consistency training. I'm not sure how you do that, but I have 2 case officers and one will communicate, one won't. That's to me crazy. The idea is to be proactive and discussing things with developers rather than just sort of almost being against development, which is the case in some things.
Are there things that, if you were the government minister responsible for this, what practically can be done for improvements? I know it's easy to say, oh, we'll give them as much resources as possible. Is there anything practically changes that you would like to see made in the planning process that you think would have a positive impact?
Something I would like to see is commercial sort of awareness training for planners, and I suppose there's always going to be an element where people need to be patient with people coming from different perspectives, but that would certainly be helpful.
Adam has asked, what do you think about planning performance agreements? Do they work?
I've just recently dealt with an authority that we had a planning performance agreement in place, and I wouldn't say that we benefited from any greater a service as a result of it or any greater certainty. We paid more for it. The local authority were able to charge a percentage uplift on the basis that it was a planning performance agreement, but it didn't give any greater certainty in the timescales or in the process itself. And that was for quite a large scale.
Do you do a regular review of your life so far to see if you're meeting the expectations that you've sort of set for yourself? Obviously, I think you've got an idea in mind of where you want to be. Do you have that, and do you keep track of it?
At the start of the year, I have like a 5-year plan. Okay, that's actually true. I forget about these things sometimes, but my business mentor, actually, this was an exercise I did with him at the very start. He had said, make sure you're dreaming big enough, because you'll be surprised at what you'll have done in this first year. Reviewing things on a regular basis is really important.
For those that aren't aware, a very important publication or policy statement from the FCA. Any firm that's actually involved in financial promotions, they have to be registered. So any firm that wanted to be involved in financial promotions had to register with the FCA. Really what this is focusing is trying to prevent, inhibit, stop the unregulated market. How do you go about making a day that involves 5 hours of the day gone just in the car? How do you ensure that that's a productive day, both in terms of time in the car and maybe having other meetings down there?
Car journeys, I never let them go wasted because I'm constantly doing calls. So that's how I spend all of my car journeys, is doing calls, important calls that I need to do. They'll be done throughout that car journey, provided the reception is good. I hate wasting time. It really annoys me, because you're right, like, you have to be productive, and time wasted is time you're not getting paid. So you have to be really, really mindful of that. Doing any calls is what I would do.
Amanda, competency or lack of resources?
It's a combination of both. Certainly lack of quality. Most of the organisations outside the local government wouldn't function with that level of quality in it.
What part does being super organised have to play in achieving the optimal work-life balance? And what if this is not your strength?
Being organised in general puts you ahead of anything else. I do think that, whether it's in work life or personal life, definitely, it is really important to be organised, just to make sure that you are maintaining that balance as much as you can.
How do you start your day, your life away from business? Do you operate an electronic diary? Do you map out your day completely? Do you leave blank spaces for certain things? What's your process for making sure you're productive?
It really depends. Every day is kind of different. I will always know what I'm doing. My diary for next week already has everything in it that I need to know. Yes, there are some free spaces left. I always keep space for surveys. One thing that I've got really good at, which I was bad at, is not overloading my diary. I love pen and paper. Before, I'm very old fashioned that way. I take great pride in like ticking things off. I absolutely love it. By the end of every day, I try and have everything marked off.
Todd, would you stay up to get something done, or would you say, no, that's my time?
If it's like a set deadline and the client's like, look, I need it by this time because of this thing. If it's needed, then yes. I think I said to you on our last trip, like, I always make sure I get 8 hours sleep regardless of what it is. If I go to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm not waking up until 10, 11 to make sure I get that, because if you're getting less than 7 hours sleep a night, it cuts your life expectancy down. And obviously then you're not productive for the next day and you're lousy, you can't think, you can't sleep. But in terms of getting stuff done for people, I've done, I think, 26 hours on the trot, but then I make sure I get the adequate rest the next day. That's how it goes.
What is sort of the current planning system based on? Any observations on that, Nick?
Generally speaking, there's been a lot of talk recently with the Levelling Up and Regeneration Act and what might fall out of that in terms of planning regulation. There will be bits and pieces, but a lot of it is things are moving quite slowly.
What is the state of planning in the UK? Straight in with Amanda.
I think shocking is probably the best word. I don't see it getting much better, particularly when there's been an election year as well. It's the same struggles that it's been having most of my career. Bottom line problem is the planning departments just aren't resourced well enough.
Market update in terms of last couple of days. Interest rates, Bank of England have left the interest rate at 5.25. Is that a good thing or a bad thing, guys?
One of the things that I had heard over the past few weeks or so was that hopefully at the end of this year, they hope to see a significant reduction. But all these things are speculative, and I suppose we don't really know what it's going to be like until it's actually there in front of us. It's good that it hasn't increased. That's the positive.